Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker, and I'm always looking for interesting people. You know that. People who are going to challenge you, people who are going to offer you different perspectives. And I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting conversation today with Jocelyn Sandstrom. She's here with us, and since 2010, she's been providing quantum energy sessions. We're going to hear what this means, teaching neurolinguistic programming, neurological repatterning, and the Millennium Method to clients globally. And in 2022, she founded a wellness and metaphysical community-driven platform that promotes a higher level of consciousness through expos and retreats. She is a mindset and energy work expert, and that has propelled her career, allowing her to work with leading luxury brands like Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Fendi and Cartier and Tiffany's and so forth. I can't even pronounce these other names. And she's been featured on the cover of Elle, Marie Claire, Esquire, Harper's Bazaar, and more. So we've got a superstar with us here today. Without further ado, Jocelyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be on your show.
Well, we have one thing in common, is that we appreciate the importance and the power of mindset. And I call it energy management, right? Quantum physics, these types of things. But those are big words for people, right? So let's just call it mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what it comes down to.
How do you help people to understand what you do? Like, so that you do have just like down to earth words that people understand how to bring about change in their life and how you do that?
Well, basically, first, it's like basically getting out of the head into your inner knowing. People use soul knowing, people use gut, they use intuition, whatever word you want to use. But there's a knowing that you know of what you came here to create, what you desire to create. And our head and the conditioning a lot of times just gets in the way. So what I help people to do is really just be able to see what those limiting beliefs, those worries, those doubts, those fears are, that are just an energy suck that we could be using to actually create what we desire to. And then we go back, we remove it, shift it out so that things can just start easily unfolding and dropping into our life on a very simple.
Yeah, and it's so true that we get in our own way, right? We get in our own limiting thoughts, right? And the energy of those thoughts, and that was the name of my TEDx, the energy of those thoughts get in the way. So what's a simple technique? Let's get down so that people have got some things right away. What's a simple technique that helps people recognize when they're in their own way?
Well, first of all, it's recognizing that we are the creator of everything. Every single second of every single day, we are the one creating it based on the story that we're telling ourselves. So an example would be like, I can't trust, or I don't trust, right? And so you have to trust that you don't trust, or I'm not confident. And so you're confident that you're not confident, right? Or I always attract these people. I always have these relationship problems. So you're always going to validate. You're going to look for all those relationship problems over and over and over again. And you're going to dismiss the ones that aren't a problem because you're only looking for the relationship problems. And you're going to give me all the examples of all that type of relationship when all this other stuff was going on. But you just keep validating this story over and over and over again. So a good way to discover this is, what story are you telling yourself? What story are you telling people to discover? Is this story actually beneficial to me, to what I want to create? Or is this story keeping me stuck? Like if I keep saying I can't receive, then I'm only going to look for the times that I'm not receiving anything. And if I receive something else, I might not give attention to it because it doesn't fit my story. And then once you flip your story, you're going to notice, which is so crazy, that all these things are going to start coming in and you're going to wonder, were they there the whole time and I just wasn't seeing it? Or
Mm.
is it coming in because I'm now consciously creating it, right? It's like that red car
Probably
theory. How
both.
many? Yeah, exactly. It's probably both. And it's like that red car theory. How many red cars did you see on the road today? And then how many red cars would you see on the road tomorrow if you were looking for the red cars? So
Right.
all we're doing is being aware of where are we putting our energy and is it benefiting us or is it keeping us stuck?
Because so if we understand the way that our brain works, right? It's looking for the quickest path, right? And
Yes.
if we're telling it something, that's what it's looking for. So
Yes.
that makes sense, right? That's the easiest path is just to filter everything out and look for that thing that you say. So that's its job. And so is that why you say get out of your head?
Yes. Well, I
Because
mean,
your brain is actually working against you in that particular case.
well, yeah, because our conditioned mind, our paradigm, all of these things are trying to protect us from pain, trying to protect us from stuff that happened. Then we created a defense mechanism or we created a strategy. And some of those times the strategies do work and they help us to propel us forward, but sometimes they actually hold us back. And so that's what we're trying to figure out and getting out of our head. So I do a lot of reprogramming with my clients where we actually go and we figure out, okay, well, where was this belief created? Where was this limitation created? And how do we get to go back to that very first moment, shatter it so then it shatters all the rest of them? When I talk about getting out of your head into your soul knowing, that's the other part of the work that I do, where it's when you can strengthen your inner power and your inner knowing and your soul knowing so much so that you don't even need to do the reprogramming process. You get to just realize that the madness and all the thoughts and overthinking and overanalyzing and worrying and fears is an illusion that you're creating in your head. And it's not you because you're your infinite soul. Your soul is infinite. It has infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, infinite potentiality because all our souls are same power but different because we're all source, including my son. He's just on a different part of his journey, on a different journey. It doesn't matter, but we all have access to that. As long as we cultivate that knowing within us, we start listening to our gut, we develop our intuition to then know that the stuff that's going on in our head that we're creating is an illusion. And it could have been from, yes, in the past, in your childhood, this could have happened. But I do a lot of soul work. And so if you realize that your soul is not even this life, right? Like if your soul recognizes that you're so much more than just this, then this is just something you chose to take on in this life to then transcend. So when you can recognize that, you can recognize I took this on. So just as easily as I took this on, I get to put it down. An example of this is when I was working on clearing my fear of heights. And I was in Hawaii. There's a rock here in Hawaii called in Waimea Bay. And I normally only ever jumped on the smaller rock because I'm terrified of heights. And so this day I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to have these limitations. I'm going to jump off this higher rock. So on the way there, I just kept reprogramming myself. Every fear that started to come up as I was walking up to the higher level, I was reprogramming myself. And as I was doing that, this 12-year-old girl is just running past me, jumping off the high rock, running back around, jumping off the high rock. And it was the perfect, divinely orchestrated moment because I recognized the fear in my head is a complete illusion. We live in two separate realities. This rock to her is fun and it's the best thing that's ever happened because she didn't have something happen in her past that created the story, that created the illusion of the fear of this rock being dangerous. And so all I needed to do even was recognize that she doesn't have that fear. And so why do I have that fear? And then through the reprogramming process, shifted it out and then get to the point that I can just step off the rock and it just be another step. And so when we do the inner soul work, a lot of times we don't even have to do the reprogramming process. We just get to realize that that's an illusion and shift it out. It's not mine.
That's what I was going to say. So for people who haven't gone through this, right? They might have tuned out. You said too many soul words and too many things that are too woohoo for them. And I'm
Yeah,
just, I put on their hat. So let's put that aside. I mean, I'm just listening to your story and I'm just hearing also that there's a reprogramming that can go on just by watching that girl go back and forth for
exactly.
you to see. So it doesn't need to be as And I don't mean this in any
Complicated.
way. I want for people who are listening, it doesn't need to be esoteric or something that they don't understand. We can all relate to that story that you're just telling with that child going through. And maybe by the third time the person goes by, you go, I can do this. Like I talked myself out of starting my own technology business. I didn't have any background in technology, but I happened to be in the field. And, so there were all these reasons I'm not good enough in that. I'm not educated. I'm not, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was across from this guy I was training him on what to do. And I knew more than what he knew. And there was suddenly that, what am I afraid of? Why not me? If he's doing it, I can do it. And so I think sometimes these shifts that we can make, reprogramming, right? There's lots of different ways to do that. And it can be as simple as just that moment that the light bulb goes on. Sometimes people can read a quote sometimes I watch a movie and I get
Yes,
a message through the movie that as nobody else would get that message, but I got this crazy clarity of what I need to do in my next thing. So,
absolutely.
I just want people who are listening to understand that it's a recognizing, right? It's just a being present to those messages that are all around us that help us to connect with our gut and to get past those limitations because the
It
world is
does.
conspiring for us, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And that's the key, what you said. It's the awareness. It's giving ourselves space and mindfulness to be aware of those things because, like you said, it comes through movies, it comes through a conversation. It comes from realizing that you get to just decide. It comes from like, when the 4 minute mile, no one could break the 4 minute mile until someone did. And then after they did, everybody did. It comes from recognizing and looking for examples in your life of people that did it and
Mm-hmm.
recognizing if they could do it, I could do it. And that's all it is. It's that awareness and it's taking your control back from the external. Could have a really bad day where everything is going wrong, and I could be a victim to the day and say, oh no, I can't handle this. It wasn't meant to be all of this. Or I could say, you know what? No, I am the leader. And so if I desire to have this all, I get to make it work. How do I tell myself a story that's going to empower me to
Hmm.
say that all of this was
Yeah,
created as this perfect storm to help me to get stronger. And then now I'm going to take that, I'm going to use it. And because I get to do this, now I'm going to be able to create this. And it's just realizing that the power is in our hands and it's not outside of us and it never was. No one can make anything happen to us. We get to choose if we want to take it on or not.
totally. So many things come to mind. Maybe I'll just ask you. So my new book just got launched, The Reset Mindset. So
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm so excited. So, coming from your expertise and what you do around reprogramming, I know you know nothing about the book, but if just with that the reset mindset, what does that mean to you hearing that? And why is that important to us today?
It's so important because once you realize you get to reset your mindset every single day, and it's all our mind. Our mind is what's creating our reality. So I used to always attract people into my life where I used to start out and we would start out at the same, we work together and we would start out at the same workload. But by the end of it, I was always doing the work. And then I would leave that partnership, go somewhere else, start out here. Same thing. I would work in a corporation, start out here, and then they'd fire someone and I'd take on their workload. And I couldn't figure why I was attracting these things into my life until I realized I wasn't attracting them, I was creating them. Because who was I being that was bringing this out in the relationships that we started this way and then eventually it did this. And it was because I did not believe that I was worthy and deserving of this relationship. So I'd show up and I'd always prove myself and I'd say, I do it. No problem. It's okay. I got it. And so, of course, it's easy for the other person. If the person is saying, yeah, absolutely, I'll get it. Don't worry about it. They're going to say, okay, thank you. Right.
Of
So it
course.
wasn't them. It was never them. It was me. So then at that moment, I got to reset my mindset. I got to say, okay, well, I no longer want to be this person and I no longer want to bring that out in these people. So I cultivated I did all the stuff that I needed to do to know that I'm worthy and deserving just by being me, knowing that they desired to work with me because I was already worthy and deserving. So I get to hold my power. I get to hold my boundaries. And as soon as I decided that, my relationships all changed. I started meeting the most incredible people, and all my relationships in my life now are so balanced. But it was me that reset that. Otherwise, I'd keep running that program over and over and over, keeping on saying, why am I attracting these people or these situations in my life, not realizing I was creating them? So
Mhm.
you get to do this at any moment of your life. You get to look at anything in your life and you get to say, I love this, not liking this so much. So, what am I thinking? Who am I being? Why is this pattern happening over and over and over again? And how do I get to reset this into what I actually desire so that can start showing up in my life?
So letting go is so hard. We suck at it. It's just factual, right?
Yeah.
Like we make a mistake, we beat ourselves up and we continue to beat ourselves up. Someone else makes a mistake, right? And we don't let them live it down. We're not quick to forgive in general, right? So,
Yes.
and like you said, we carry these strategies from when we were young and they worked then, but somewhere along the way, they're not serving us anymore. And but we carry them along. How do we let go? Like, what are some strategies that we could do just to maybe there's something that you have just to help us to let go? Maybe we even know it. Half the time we know we're doing something, but we can't help it. We continue to do it.
A lot of times we don't let go because we're still subconsciously afraid that it's going to happen again. And so we don't let go to make it so big that we don't make the same mistake, or that or our subconscious or our paradigm is afraid that we're not going to be able to make it work, or there's pain or all of this. So my big thing is, if you cultivate your inner power so strong and you remember all the things you accomplished, all the things you've been through, how resilient you are. Like, if I could do this, I could do that. Like, you talk about movies, right? And so I love remembering the Titans, because there's a scene in there where Denzel Washington tells the quarterback who's going to go into the movie, where he's like, if I can survive both my parents passing away and then have all these siblings rely on me, and I had to lead being the youngest, you can do this. And so when you know that you can do that, you can let go of these things, because it no longer need you never no longer need to have that protection mechanism. A lot of times we don't forgive people because we're afraid they're going to do it to us again. So we hold on, and then to make sure to protect ourselves from the pain. But if we know that we are resilient and we have all this power, and we can be able to turn it into to our superpower. I always say, like, I like to become the master alchemist, to transmute the negatives to positives. If I know that I can do that in any situation, I can let go of the past because I'm tired of reliving the past. If not, I hold on to the past and I hold on to the stories and I bring it into the present, and I keep living that over and over and over again. But if I know that I am strong enough to get through this, and I look for all the examples in my life that I did, I'll be able to let that go, because I know now, no, you can't step in the same river twice. Only if I bring the stuff into this river can I, right? But if I
Mm-hmm.
know that the next time this happens, I'm a different person, because I
Mm-hmm.
harvested the learnings. I pivoted and I turned it into something better than I could imagine. So if this was ever to happen again, I'm going to turn it into something way better. Then I know that I don't have to have fear and I don't have to hold on to these things anymore. The other thing is, I know that I fail my way to success. I know that I learned so much from my mistakes because I harvest the learnings, because I pivot, and because I turn it into my superpower. So I know that I don't have to worry about making a mistake and then beating myself up because I don't sit in it, because I know
Right.
I'm going to use it to my advantage. And then I also keep my word to myself. So if I say I'm going to do something, I always work on keeping my word. Of course, I'm not perfect. I'm a human being, but it's very important to me to keep my word to myself, because if my subconscious mind, my paradigm, whatever, my mind knows that I'm going to keep my word to myself, then it knows that I got this. I can handle it. So I
Mm-hmm.
can let go of trying to protect you all the time. I can let go and I can trust you. But that trust is going to come from you cultivating it from within.
Mm. It's interesting, as you were talking and earlier, as you were like, that we're expansive and all the potential that we have. Like I was feeling it as you said that, because I've got a really big goal that I'm working on right now. And I've been really defeated. A number of things didn't line up and I'm like, it's not going to happen. And then I had a day that might have turned everything around. And so, I'm listening to what you're saying because, right, this is not like it's something we do all the time. Like you and I, just because we talk about and write about and coach people around mindset, it doesn't mean that we don't have our own mindset
Oh,
challenges, that we don't
yes.
have challenges and human reactions and triggers and get stuck sometimes, right? It's maybe we're just quicker on the tools, that they're more present to us, where I call myself a professional noticer. I just notice faster than other people. But what came to me is maybe some good questions that I could ask myself in this moment is, and tell me if I'm picking up what you're saying, is like, what's the pain that I'm afraid of?
Mm,
Right. So that's what I'm hearing. Like, maybe that's a question I really need to ask, like that maybe I was holding myself back or whatever, or
hmm.
these things weren't coming to me in the same way because there was a pain that I was worried about. So I'm going to answer that. And, what am I tired of living with or tolerating?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
another
And
question. And I've asked that before of coaching clients, what are you tolerating so that you can get past where you're, stuck in that place. But I haven't asked it for myself right now. So I think it's a good thing for me to ask right now.
yes, and also when you were saying like you were going through these things and there were all these blocks and you were getting frustrated, right? And then all of a sudden one day it turns around. It turned around because you pushed through it, right? Like you had a knowing that you, and I don't know, I'm sure writing a book, right? There's all these obstacles, you're going to go through these things. And then there's like, will it work? Will it won't work? All these hopes and worries and all these fears, right? When I say get out of the head into the knowing, it's that that you desired to write this book. To me, I've cultivated the story within me that anytime I have a desire or a goal, it is inevitable that it's going to happen because in quantum physics, past, present, future is in the now. So it's already happened. It's a future echo of a future me showing me what's coming if I take aligned action every single day. So that knowing gets me through when it's sticky. And then also, I know if you want to use it in the soul word, you can see that like I use different language, but it's just the story that you make it in your head that helps you to make it powerful. So it could be that's the way my soul communicates to me as children. We manifest through our daydreams, and then school says, get out of your head, be realistic, come out, get your head out of the clouds. But we naturally daydreamed because that was our soul showing us what it came here to experience in this world. So it's opening it up and then trusting in that knowing. When that knowing is so strong and you come through obstacles, those obstacles aren't going to break you because you know that those are steps of you becoming the person of the things like going to the gym. Like the first time you go to the gym and you do 10 pounds, and then the next week you do 20 pounds, and the next week you do
Sure.
50 pounds to become the person that brings that vision into reality. If you know that, then you're just going to the gym every day because it's an evolution over the entire lifetime. It's never going to get to that point where you've got all the answers and everything's perfect. Because if you did, you'd be bored out of your mind because it'd be Groundhog Day. You know what I
Totally.
mean? But we
Yeah.
forget that. We're like, no, but we want to get all the pieces. We want to fix everything. We want to heal everything. But we forget it's the journey. And so if you have that knowing, the journey becomes just the journey. It just becomes the things that are making you stronger that you desired to become.
Well, and yeah, if we can find joy in the journey, right, then everything becomes much easier, right? And it might not happen in the time frame that we want it to or think it's going to, right? Sometimes in design that doesn't happen, so that can happen. So we also, I'm a firm believer of
Exactly.
that not to, like I said, I talk about, I was just talking to somebody else about this. So like set a goal and forget it in a way, and then focus on those daily actions because it's possible. And I heard two different stories about this recently, like about an actor, somebody who was performing on stage, and the person that I heard it from was a director. They were choosing somebody for the role. And they said that this person showed up absolutely perfect. There wasn't a thing that they really brought their unique element to that role and everything, but they didn't have a position for that person. It just wasn't the right fit for that particular role. But they presented themselves so well that that same director, next time he had a role that was right for that person, he contacted that person. They didn't need to go through tryouts, the first rehearsal or whatever. They just came in for the second callbacks and that was it, right? And I just heard something recently about what's his name? The guy from Breaking Bad,
Bryan Cranston?
Bryan Cranston, right. I recently just heard an interview that he did that said the same thing, right? So you can't control whether someone chooses you and whether you're a right fit, but you can show up at your best in the best way possible. And that in itself will open up doors for you, even if you don't know what those doors are.
100,000,000%, because it's not about the time, it's about the timing. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I use my teacher always used the example. You don't know if that person knocked you, so you didn't take a step into the street a second earlier and get hit by a bus. Like, you don't know why these things happen.
Right.
When I met my husband, I met him right after my worst breakup that I've ever been. I met him for 5 minutes in a country. I left the next day, came back a year later, and we randomly bumped into each other on the street 4 times randomly, like on the street. He was leaving a place, I was coming, and then like on the fourth time we talked because we're like, we just got to talk. We moved in a month later and we've been together for 20 years.
Wow.
If I had gotten together with him the year before, it would have never worked because I
Right.
was a
That's true.
mess. I had to get my stuff in order. He was still in a different chapter and we would have blown it up.
Yep.
So it's not about time, it's about timing. And if you look at
Okay.
all those examples in life, you trust in it. You trust that you're going to follow the breadcrumbs every single day. You just take that aligned action, making sure you're taking aligned action. You're not just taking action and you're not just doing busy work, right? Like, that's going to exhaust us. It's the aligned action that's going to bring the most value to our business, whether it's the big, uncomfortable things or, the easy
Right.
things. But if you take that aligned action every single day and you harvest the learnings, you pivot, and you just keep going, it is inevitable that you will get there. It's impossible for you not to get there unless you give up. And you use the example of actors, and you'll see this in all their acceptance speeches. They'll say, anybody that's ever told you you can't do it, you can. I'm proof of it. I never gave up and I just kept going. That's why they're on that stage, because they knew that they were born to do this and nothing got in the way. And so if your knowing is so strong, it makes the journey easier because then you don't doubt. It's the doubt along the journey that's exhausting.
Mm.
When things don't go your way and you're like, oh, it didn't go my way. I wonder if it's not meant to be, or if I'm good enough, or, if this is going to work. What does this mean? If you don't put that meaning on it and you know that it's just another step on the way to where you're going, then the journey is so much easier. Then it's not exhausting. Then you can keep doing all these journeys. But if you make everything mean something along the way, it's exhausting because you got to keep holding the
Absolutely.
void the whole time. And you're just like, okay, I got it. Now I'm just going to rest and do nothing because I'm so exhausted. But if you know that it is inevitable and that these are just the things that you get to do to get stronger along the way, the journey just becomes an unfolding. And
Right.
you know it's inevitable and it's a completely different energy.
I love it. Well, I'm revitalized right now. So,
Oh, thank you so much. I can't
so
wait to
that's,
read your book because we're so aligned.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, where can people find out more information about you and your work?
Thank you. Well, I have my website and I have my social media. I'd say connect with me on my social media because my Instagram is living organic. It's shifting
Okay.
constantly with where I'm going. I do a lot of free stuff on there as well as my programs. I do
Great.
free masterminds that you can join the wait list for. So social media will probably be the best way. If you want to join the newsletter, you can always go on my website or DM me and I'll add you to the newsletter. But yeah,
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being
thank
here.
you so much.
And thank you all so much for being here, for listening, there were a lot of really valuable, important nuggets here, whether the language is language that you would use typically or not. I think underlying principles are tried and true, and you know and you believe them to be true. And I think one of the most important things that I want to leave you with is trust that it's not about time, but timing, and that it's about aligned action. If you've read my book or you've heard me talk about these reset moments before, that's what reset moments are designed to do, is help you to realign, right? It's about stepping back, getting that awareness, getting some perspective so that you are moving along the path and then realigning. So those reset moments, they help you take aligned action. And with aligned action, you're going to have deeper, better relationships, whether it's at work or at home. You're going to be in line with your goals, with your values, and with your intentions. And every step that you take when you're aligned is going to get you where you're going faster. And hopefully we can just have some joy in the journey as it unfolds, one step at a time, one reset moment at a time. So thank you all for being here. My name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.